Hi. So I just wanted to do. Um, I, it's a, this will be a very infrequent series where I just want to recommend a comic that I'm reading digitally, and I think it's a series that's been overlooked by a lot of people, um, and I think it's up to issue 6 at the month. I'm only up to issue 5 because I leave it for a month. Because if I wait for a month, a digital comic goes down from about £3 to £1.27, so it's a really good saving. So the comic that I'm recommending is an Image one, and it's called Nights. And it's kind of like an urban fantasy. So I'll give you the brief synopsis. So it says Florida is owned by Spain, and America consists of 31 states. Vampires, ghosts, and other supernatural creatures are common and benign, and the internet is infantile and irrelevant. So already it's got world building in place. It's got alternative history. So Florida is separate from the rest of America. It's owned by Spain, and there's all supernatural creatures who live kind of in harmony with just the regular people. And it's set in it starts in 1999, and it features this young guy at the top there called Vincent, who's moving to live with his cousin and his cousin's friends because his parents sadly have passed away. And he kind of idolises his cousin because he's heard so much about him, how he's his own made man and quite successful in that lot. Um, and so he's travelling over to meet his cousin. In the meantime, it opens it up about other characters. So there's this girl here who is more than she appears. So she's basically a vampire, and he sees people running past. Like I said, in Florida, there's all supernatural people living there. So he sees somebody jogging past, and it's a skeleton. So it's somebody who's deceased, who's a ghost. But until until he finishes purgatory or whatever, he remains on Earth as a skeleton. So his first introduction to the vampire girl is that way. She completely surprises him by suddenly appearing out of nowhere. So he whacks her across the head with his skateboard. But it doesn't really phase her that much because obviously she's got super strength. So they get chatting. They go back to his cousin's place, and he finds out she lives there, and also this guy on the couch lives there as well. And of course, there's his cousin there, who he just thinks is so cool, and he thinks his cousin's like a self-made man. But he's about 14 or 15. I think he's about 14 when he moves here, and so he's kind of like gets fixated on this young vampire girl. Well, by young I mean she's about 600, but she's like stuck at the age that she died. And so it moves to 5 years later. So they've all settled in. They've all become like this chosen family now. And he's grown up. He's about 18. He's dyed his hair green. He's an art student. He wants to become a filmmaker. His cousin's just trying to make himself respectable because the job he's got isn't that respectable, but it gets him money, and you'll find out what the job is if you read the comic. And he's now the young guy. Vincent, he's got his own group of friends now. So he's got another chosen family, but he's another part of extended chosen family. But he's very very close to the vampire girl, and their friendship's got kind of like it's great in each issue. You see it developing in a very natural and organic way into something more, and it's really quite sweet. What I love about this, it gets a really good balance of sweetness, of young relationships, and also horror and violence. So it's like that. So there's never a dull moment when you're just thinking, oh, this is gonna just drag. They do something to pull the rug from under you. So it keeps you. It keeps you interested. It keeps you focused on the storyline, because it's got this curious mix of almost like Love and Rockets kind of young people talking about music, talking about just life in general, and then you've got the supernatural side by side with it, and then suddenly this violence that comes in between both of them and just shakes up the whole dynamic. But when it jumps 5 years as well, you find out what happens to the flatmate who sat on the couch with his cousin, and he has quite a transformation as well. But I don't want to ruin it because it's fantastic how they do him, and it's great. It's almost like I'd say there was a series on BBC, but I forgot what it's called now. Russell Tovey, I think, was in it, where there was a vampire, a werewolf, and a dead girl who all lived together. It's got that kind of vibe where it's got supernatural elements, but it's downplayed, and it's more about the friendships and the relationships. But each issue delves deeper into the lore and deep into the history of each of the characters and how they became who they are. And it does very original things with vampire lore as well, and ghosts, what I've not seen done before. So the plot never stays still. It's always evolving and always moving. So each issue can move on, like jump in time by a few days or whatever. So it just keeps your attention fixed. You're not just. It's not like with some ongoing regular comics where it's just like this plot what's dragged out for 10 issues, and when you realise it's only been like 10 hours have passed or something. Not in this. It moves so much more quicker, and it's like it reaches out, pushes its branches out. So you find out people who are attached to the vampire girl, people who are attached to his cousin, people who are attached to the other flatmate, and how they have an impact on their lives as well. So it's kind of like this triangular plot where you'll then focus into the middle and you can join it, whatever that means. But yeah, it's so fresh. It's really enjoyable. It gives me the same kind of pleasure what I get from reading What's the Furthest Place from Here, which is another Image comic I recommend you buy either digitally or in collected editions, where it's fresh, it's punky. What I like as well, at the end of the issue, they give you a playlist of bands, what you can listen to while reading the comic. So it's got that nice retro punk, new wave, post-punk kind of soundtrack, which really goes well with it as well, which I love because I'm a huge music head as well. So yeah, I would recommend it heartily. Like I said, I've read up to 5 issues so far, and the 5th issue was a really fun one. It was almost like a Scooby-Doo feel to it, with the dynamics of the friendships, and it goes in places where you don't expect it to go. So I do recommend. I think there's been a trade collected. If there has, do buy it. If not, do read it digitally because you will find it very rewarding. And it's nice to read something that's not capes and cowls and tights. Where it's not superhero based. It's almost like slice of life, but urban fantasy as well. So yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10. I've not been disappointed by an issue. So hope you enjoyed that. Okay, bye.